Hi everyone. I just got off a training with the home office compliance department, and so I wanted to share some things that I learned, and then it also made me realize that several of you may not know this part of your business. So we have a lot of new people always, joining, and this is a very important part of your business that you'll have to know. Um, so I just wanted to make sure that you have this information. So, all right. Compliance. So, compliance is basically the reason why it's put in place for the standards, basically, in your business for compliance is put in place for your protection as a independent consultant, as well as just the direct sales industry. It's to make sure that our type of business stays in business. Our company works very closely with the FTC and the DSA, which is Direct Sales Association, and the FTC. To be honest with you, I just went brain farted what that stands for, but we can look that up really fast. But what does, and somebody, if you're on here and you know, what does they didn't say FTC stand for. Let's see what it says. Oh, Federal Trade Commissions. Okay, is an independent agency of the U.S. government that aims to protect consumers and ensure a strong competitive market for enforcing consumer protection and antitrust laws. Okay, so with that being said, we need to know that they're doing this to make sure that direct sales as a whole, party planning industry, is able to stay in business. And then on top of it, our specific company obviously is what Scentsi's most biggest, concern is. And so they partner in with those two areas, making sure that we are all crossing our T's and dotting our I's with our businesses. However, if we don't know what those things are and why they're in place, it's going to be harder for us as consultants to make sure that we are running our businesses within compliance, right? So one, I want to make sure that I'm going to, if you go into your, hopefully you have a notebook or something, or go back when you have a chance, but if you go into your workstation, okay, and I'm just going to tell you exactly where to go. So you're going to click on my dashboard on the top left corner, and then you're going to go straight to the training link. So there's a Scentsy Success section, and it has news, training, and marketing in it. You're going to click on the training option, and then under where it says how would you like to learn, you're going to type in compliance, okay, and then click search. And then all of these PDFs on compliance are going to show up, okay? And so the first one that you're going to see is for trade shows. So I'm going to go ahead and just open that up so I can read it with you guys. I probably should have done a Zoom now that I think about it, and so I could share my screen. I don't think Facebook Live gives you that option yet, huh? I was hoping that maybe they've added that. Share to groups. Your live video will be shared to groups you select the next time you go live. Oh, okay. So doesn't have anything to do with it. Okay, so you would have, I'm just going to read it to you guys, and I hope that you take the time to go in here. And I'm not going to read every single compliance thing, obviously, but I want you guys to know where to find it, which I shared how to find it. You go to your dashboard, to training, and then under where it says, what would you like to know, you're going to click compliance. Okay, so fairs and shows. This is something that is not really popular right now because a lot of areas in the US is closed down. However, in certain areas, people are doing shows right now. So if you went into that standard, it's chapter 3, section 3 of our Scentsy standards. It's broken down, okay? Excuse me. I'm actually going to also flip to the section of where they talked about fairs and shows, so I can see do any add-ons for you guys if there's anything I learned in addition. Okay, so fairs and shows, you may promote Scentsy opportunity and collect orders with a promotional display. You may not conduct cash and carry sales unless the fair or show is taking place at a temporary event. And then chapter 6 in the standards, it directs you to of what the definition of a temporary event means. So if you have any questions regarding whether a fair or show would be considered a temporary event, you'd email compliance@scentsy.com. So the email is compliance@scentsy.com prior to selling the cash and carry at the event. If you conduct cash and carry, sales at a temporary event include, and then there's a list right there. You may only represent and or sell Scentsy at any event. So if you are a consultant for another company and you have a booth for, I don't know, Color Street Nails, you cannot market Scentsy on that same booth. Okay, so the reason why is because how you market this other company, they have different rules, they have different standards, and so we don't want to represent our company, our products, along with another company because they don't mirror our standards, okay? It also confuses people, and it also is against, it works against you as far as an event and you're trying to sell two different products. You could really hurt your business with Scentsy by having two different products, even if they have nothing to do with each other. It's just a better practice to focus on one brand at an event. Okay, so Scentsy doesn't let you represent more than one company with Scentsy. Your booth must be attended at all times by the current Scentsy consultant in good standing. So you can't just, go to lunch, leave your booth, just, sitting there and say, hey, neighbor, can you watch my booth for me? So you always want to have somebody with you. That's because you want to make sure nobody's stealing. You also want to make sure that you're not losing. You paid for this event, and you want to make sure that you're going to get your money back by having somebody there the whole time, being able to tend and serve the people that come to your booth. So there's several reasons why you want to make sure that you're always attending the booth. And then we also want to just make sure that whoever is talking to the customers are actually knowledgeable and the actual consultant. So another thing, you don't want to be paying somebody that's not a consultant to man your booth if you need to step away. Okay, so I always teach my frontline that what I do is I have them come to events with me so they can see how I handle it. But I personally always have 3 people at a booth. So there's always at least 2 people at all times. So when somebody goes on lunch, there's still 2 people manning the booth, because one could be packaging and writing up orders, the other one could be selling. But when in a good event, you'll find that 3 people are usually pretty busy at all times. Scentsy does not limit the number of booths allowed. So you can buy 10 booths if you want at an event. We know several consultants that do that if they're able to do that. You may not enter into a contract for overlapping event shows. So you can't say, okay, I'm doing an event at this specific venue, and then I also have a contract with another venue that somebody else is manning for me. So you have to be at the booth that you are manning and that you are, have a contract for. So that's why they can't overlap, because you as the consultant has to be there. Okay, so you cannot enter into a contract during the same time or the same days that the event is happening. Scentsy will not be able to be made a party to contract between you and an event coordinator, nor will the Scentsy be liable for any disputes that arise between you and an event coordinator or between you and another consultant at an event. So basically, if you decide to ask one of your team members to come with you at an event and something happens between the 2 of you, you guys have a disagreement, Scentsy is not going to get involved because you're independent business owners. So that's not, you can't threaten, I'm going to call Scentsy on you, or whatever, you have to handle that yourself, as well as if it's you're dealing with a coordinator. You can't say, well, I'm gonna, have my home office call your, company and complain to you, or if they, for some reason, you don't agree with, the event price or something, you need to make sure that you have all your contracts in place, receipts made of payment, all that stuff, because Scentsy is not going to step in to try to defend you if that coordinator says, I don't have a contract for you and you're not supposed to be here, because that's happened before. I've been doing this for a long time, and several people have called me saying, I showed up and there was another consultant at the booth or at the event, and I was told there wasn't going to be any more than just me. And the coordinator has the right to book more than one Scentsy booth, and you are the one that's going to have to decide what standards you have for your business. I personally will not do an event if there's another Scentsy booth, unless it is so ginormous that it's like, on another level or something, because I don't want to confuse people as those people are on my team or I work with them, because the way they run their business, customer care, all of that is different from the way my team runs it. So I don't want people to be confused on, that we are connected in any way. That's my standard. That may not be yours. You may not care about that. But if there is another booth and something happens between the two booths, like the other consultant and you that disagree of some sort, you are the one that's going to have to handle that, not Scentsy. Okay? All right, so the next one, it says, you may build up an inventory for temporary event as long as you can provide Scentsy with documentation of the event upon request. So, for instance, we only have a certain amount of product retail that we're allowed to have at any given time in our booth. Hi, Cindy. So you are not allowed to have more than $2,000 in inventory in your home at any given time unless you have a contract that you can prove to Scentsy that you have that inventory for that event, okay? Now, if you do not have an event set up, no consultant can have more than 1,000 in stock. Now, one thing they brought up tonight on this training is that which I want to really emphasize to you guys, that's so important. And if I'm your sponsor, I've had these conversations with you. You may not have had a conversation yet with your sponsor, or just never come up yet. Maybe your sponsor doesn't know that this is a thing, but when you are placing orders for a specific event, okay, you want to, hold on one second. I want to make sure that, okay, so I always make sure that when somebody's coming on board with Scentsy and they've been a consultant of another company, a lot of other direct sales companies out there, they encourage you to have stock. They want you to have stock, and some of them even require you to have stock. Scentsy is completely different. We want you to make money and only purchase product when you have a customer. We do not want you stuck with a bunch of products. We do not want you to be loading up on all kinds of products and hoping that you can sell it off, because that's when you end up getting in debt, right? And that's when spouses are upset with you because you're spending money that you don't have, and then you can't guarantee you're going to get it back. And so I always make sure people know that the only time that you should be building stock is if you have a actual event scheduled to utilize that stock for, okay? One thing that I actually learned that I did not know, so that's why it's always important to continue to train yourself, because honestly, the rules that were happening 10 years ago when I started doing events is totally different from now, because it's just a bigger company. There's more situations, more ways to market your business than there was when I first started. So what they shared with us is that if you are buying stock for a event, or if you are buying stock with a for, like, maybe you're doing those scent crates, a mystery bag, that you have a bunch of mystery bags booked up, okay? You want to make sure that you put the name of the party you are stocking up for. So if you are stocking up, I'm just going to use a event that I know one of our directors here in Vegas has every year, except for last year because of COVID. It's called Spring Jamboree. She's had that her whole career. She's the one that does that event, okay? So if she was stocking up for the Spring Jamboree, she would put that in the title of the name of the party. And so if ever they wonder why she had a bulk order of just her name, she wasn't putting customers' names in there, if they were questioning if she was in an incentive period, if they were questioning, if she's basically, it's called bonus buying and just trying to earn points and buying her way to the point system, she would able to say, well, I not only have a contract, but I also, the name of the party was all that stock that was purchased was for this specific contract that I have. I hope that makes sense. Now, if you are just doing scent crates or mystery bags, you want to make sure that you name the party, March mystery bags. So they know that, and then the one thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that you always, always, always put in as much customer information as possible. So they know that if they ordered a mystery bag, you want to put that that product under that person's name if possible. But you want to make sure that you are tracking everything. So when you deliver that mystery bag or that scent crate or whatever, you want to make sure you have an order form that you are giving the customer, so you have something to prove to Scentsy that there is an actual exchange, that customers are giving you money and you are exchanging the product for that money. And that's why you spent $2,000 in one party for March's mystery bags. And then when they go back and see all of those customers, you have actual either receipts to prove it, and if they want to contact your customer, they can, to prove that they are receiving those products. Oh yeah, exactly, Cindy. That you when you're placing orders for the product, she does events. That's like her thing. That's her main focus in her business is events. And so she said in the comments that when she's purchasing for an event, she names the event the name of the event, which is perfect. Okay, let's go back to see for the next thing. So how can I be compliant at fairs and shows? So it says, whether or not you advertise your event on social media, your participation must be in compliance with the Scentsy standards. Please follow all standards and only offer cash and carry Scentsy at qualifying events. Now, then when you scroll down, you are going to see the fairs and shows breakdown of what a temporary event means. So I'm going to read it to you guys and then emphasize if there's anything I can clarify. So it says, state and country fairs and other legitimate events, one, have a clear beginning end date, okay? So it's not let's say it's not a flea market that is just up all the time. Like, you can drive by this location, 30 days a month, 12 months a year, and there's always going to be a flea market sitting there. That does not qualify as a compliant, it's not a temporary event. And it also, that would be considered like a retail environment. Now, if it's a flea market or what else do they call them? Swap meet that only comes like 3 times a year, that can be considered a temporary event because it has a day and a start date and an end date. And so then it says, 2 are not held in a retail location. So if this swap meet or fair or flea market is in a retail like strip mall, it is not compliant, okay, to set up a booth at one of those events, because it's considered a retail environment. Even on the parking lot grounds is still considered a retail location. Do not span more than 30 days. So that's considered a temporary event. So if this event is starting on, April 1st and it goes through to the 30th, then that is a temporary event, okay? But if it stays up longer than that, it is not a temporary event. Includes multiple vendors. So meaning this event has to have other retail vendors that are temporary. So Pampered Chef and Color Street and Mary Kay and Avon. There has to be other vendors. It doesn't have to be direct sales vendors. It could be a tax company. It could be a dental office trying to get their name out there, whatever. But there has to be other vendors, okay? And it has to be put on by a third-party event, not you or Scentsy. So, for instance, I am going to throw myself under the bus and use me as an example of something I did in the very beginning of my business because this standard wasn't there. But this is a perfect example of what's not allowed now. So when I was living on an Air Force base where I started my business, I personally created a vendor event for a Christmas in July for all the different vendors of military wives that had different companies and created an event. I was the one putting it on. So, and it wouldn't have been there if it wasn't for me reaching out to all these vendors and putting together a Christmas in July event in the, on base. And it was in like I think we put like some type of a, what's it called? Oh gosh, I don't know. It was like a big open area that that we would do like dinners at if there was like a certain squadron had like a Christmas party or something. That's where they would put that on. And so I'm the one that coordinated it. That is out of compliance now. It wasn't back then, but I think because people were starting to do that, it got out that we could create our own events. It was a great resource, but they realized that probably was considered, not compliant because we're creating those events ourselves. Okay, where am I at? Okay, so then number 5 is our put on, I already did that one, so not by you. This excludes most farmers markets. It excludes most farmers markets, flea markets, and trade days. So it says the determination of whether an event is legitimate is at Scentsy's sole and absolute discretion. So if anybody is on my team, you'll know when it comes to compliance, I don't answer those questions very easily. I always say get it approved by compliance. It is the safest and easiest way to go. They will get back to you within 48 hours. There's no reason why you need an answer in a split second. And so you have documentation that you got an answer from compliance so you can move forward. So if somebody else thinks it's not compliant, you can say, here's my email, here's my support ticket that says that I was able to move forward on this event, okay? The span of the event is not determined by the number of days it is open for business, nor by the number of days that you participate in the event, but by the total number of days between the beginning date and the end date. Okay, it says, for example, an event that is held every Friday and Saturday between May 1st and June 30th spans 61 days and would not be considered a temporary event. So hopefully that's a good example that you would say because there are a lot of flea markets and swap meets that they're available every Saturday, you know what I mean, of the week. So and then it goes through a whole month, and it's actually 61 days long. So they use May 1st through June 30th. So that would not be a legitimate temporary event. So here is some small market exceptions. It says if your event does not meet all temporary event criteria, you may compare your event to the following small market exception criteria, all of which are required to be performed to participate with cash and carry at any event. It says 1, the event must be within 50 miles or 80 kilometers, however you do math, of your home. The event may not be in a retail location. There must not be a contract with a temporary event prior to the day of the event. So this is actually something that I am going to email them in for, because that is a little confusing, because when we do big events, you tend to book the event ahead of time. And this is saying that you can't have the contract with a temporary event prior to the day of the event. So that is pretty tricky. I'm going to get back to you guys on how they plan us to, go about that. Especially here in Vegas, we have lots of events here, and they require contracts sometimes 6 months in advance to keep your spot. So that kind of that can be an issue. So I will be contacting compliance directly regarding that, and then I will get back to you guys regarding that answer. The next one, it says the event must require all vendor booth displays to be set up and taken down every day of the event. So if this, basically, even if everybody else gets to keep their event booth up, Scentsy has to set up and break down every single day if it does not meet all the temporary event criterias. And the only way you're going to do that is if you contact compliance and explain to them all the different details of each event. So don't call your sponsor or even your director, and don't call me saying, is this okay? Because we're not compliance, okay? You have to contact them either via email. You can call them if you'd like, if talking to them is easier, but I recommend and strongly suggest that you ask them to email you what you guys talked about, so you have a documentation of being approved for that event, okay? Paper trails are so important when it comes to compliance. That's my opinion. Again, if you don't want to do that step, you're just putting yourself at risk of having an issue in the future, which I don't want you to have. And then again, it says, if you have any questions about small market exception or want to know if your event meets the exceptions, please email the compliance team at compliance@scentsy.com. Now, and then in this document, it actually gives you things for fairs and shows that are good, and as far as displays that you promote Scentsy opportunity and collect orders with a promotional display of up to 1 item per product category. So this one, if you are displaying 1 item of everything and you are marketing the join opportunity, you want to only have that 1 of every single product that we have. You don't want to have several of the same thing in a marketing display, especially if you're going to be posting it on Facebook. And then the no, it says you may not represent and or sell Scentsy, non-Scentsy products or opportunities at the same event. So this picture of the no has like doTERRA with oils of doTERRA on there, and then like another homemade doily or whatever on the same display. They have vendor, they have vendor flyers of what you're posting on Facebook that's okay, and then they have vendor flyers that is not okay. So these are there's a few different examples. If you're a visual person like me, it really does help. So I would personally print these out if you need to kind of get used to what you can and can't do. I also want to let you guys know that these PDFs and pictures are actually in this page under our guides section. It used to say, what were the different, now I can't even remember. Dang it. They changed the word to guides now, and it used to be, I'll put it in the comments below. I can't remember what they used to call it. But now on this page, at the top, you'll see a little section that says guides. This is where all the training is, and you will find a compliance section in the training, and all of this stuff is uploaded there. So you could either get it from your training center, which is important to know where to get this stuff, but you can also find this stuff inside your inside this group page. All right, so I decided, because this is already 30 minutes in, I'm gonna do probably 1 on each day, and then the next time I come on, I am going to do a Zoom so I can do a share my screen of what I'm looking at and what I'm talking about. I hope this was helpful. Again, if you have questions, you're welcome to reach out to me or your upline or whatever for basic questions of like where the stuff is maybe, but I strongly encourage you to contact compliance directly if you have any questions of whether your event is compliant or not, because again, your sponsor, your director, your superstar director, we are all consultants. We are not we're not the compliance department, okay? So even if I said yes, go ahead, that's not going to save you from going against compliant if it's not in the standards of being compliant. So cover your hiney and put in a support ticket or email or even give them a call, and then to verify what you have. And then if you do a phone call, make sure that you ask them to send you an email with this information for documentation. All right, thanks guys.